Hello, 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 and welcome back to Moving Mountains for You. This is your host, Ice Celadon. I go by Sachi Ice Queen on a lot of social medias. Today we have a special guest. He is in the educational background. He does a lot of things for a lot of people, and he's going to definitely share that with us and with our audience and with our students. And I'm super excited. Learning Idiom is how I get to be a virtual teacher, English and Spanish. And I love teaching. That's something I love to do. And so when I saw his educational background, I definitely wanted to feature him in one of our episodes. Moving Mountains for You, as well as Transcending La Familia, both are part of Learning Idiom. It's a nonprofit based here in Arkansas in the United States, where we teach English and perfect your English and your Spanish. And so I'm super excited for Ronald to share with us and share his wisdom, share what he does for his community, and just basically just share how he is a world changer. Because I definitely look at people's, profiles and stuff, and definitely I'm really selective. And so I'm excited to feature him. So Ronald, go ahead and reintroduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Good morning. Pleased to be with you today. I'm Ron Shapiro. I'm up here in Providence, Rhode Island, and I'm a speaker in leadership development, career development, and human factors ergonomics. That is, designing things so that they'll be safer, easier, and more fun for people to use. Uh, let's see, in terms of my background, I have a doctoral degree in psychology from Ohio State University, and I'm recognized in several professional organizations with the title Fellow, which means that I've done something worthwhile that they wanted to acknowledge. That's a little bit about me. I offer today game show programs that show people more about how they think so they can be a little safer, more productive, and better communicators. And they're a ton of fun. And they're good for everything from businesses to schools, colleges, universities, and we even have a birthday party edition. Yeah, we keep
Awesome.
you
That's
with lots
exciting.
of suspense.
That's exciting. I love birthdays. This is my birthday month, so that is definitely exciting. I love birthdays. I love to celebrate people and, when they came to be. And so that's something that I enjoy. Not
So,
everyone,
how do you celebrate people?
I tell them everything good about themselves because nowadays it feels like sometimes people can be so negative about themselves and there's so much negativity in the world that I like to be the positive side of things. And so I celebrate people because a lot of people don't really know how to market themselves. They don't know how to speak to themselves in a positive manner sometimes. And so on their birthday, I don't just for the people that are close to me, I don't just say happy birthday. I tell them, how much they mean to me and how I appreciate their energy and their spirit and who they are. And to me, words are a lot more powerful than a gift. Everyone loves gifts, but I think that when you can pour into someone with your words, it's a little bit more meaningful than something that they can use and dispose of. And so that's just how I love to celebrate people is with my words. I do give gifts as well too. It was just Christmas, so Merry Christmas to everyone. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays, however you celebrate this time of year. And even if you're one of those that don't celebrate this time of year, celebrate life. Celebrate that you are breathing. Celebrate that you know, are still alive. you know, um, with COVID and everything, it's easy to focus on, what can go wrong, but try to think of what can go right. And so, Ronald, just tell us, you said that you do a lot of game shows and things like that for people. What motivates you to do that, or what motivates you on a daily basis?
I really want to help people to achieve their goals. And so that's the primary thing in my consulting, as well as in the game show programs, because they're designed to show people more about how they think so they can be safer, more productive, better communicators. And I like to do that in an environment that's fun to do. For example, I don't usually do classical lectures. There are plenty of people who do those. I tend to instead try and incorporate what I'm going to do into a game show context, even if it's an award ceremony. For example, I have an award ceremony I'm doing next week, as it turns out. And there's several ways to do that. One way is to give an extensive rundown of the people's background with the entire audience listening. And I really think that that's of interest to the parents of the honoree if they happen to be there. Possibly even of interest to the honoree, but probably boring to most other people. And so, what do you do to make it more interesting? Well, instead, we tend to have the person talk about themselves. Tell us, we don't necessarily tell them they're getting an award. We tell them they're a contestant in a game show, bring them up on stage, blindfold them, and then ask them to tell us what they're holding. And they're holding their certificate, telling them what award they've won. And, they guess away at it. The audience gives them hints and stuff. And we get the whole story out in a way that's fun and kind of offbeat, if you will. And we tend to do that with a lot of our game items. So that'll be coming up next week. Maybe we'll even post a few photos of that, depending on the situation and so forth, assuming that we don't get shut down with the pandemic numbers rising.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think any kind of games for even adults. I mean, I went to a Friendsgiving with my church, and we did, musical chairs, and like adults enjoy games too. Not
Have you taken it to Ellen's extreme and done the blindfolded musical chairs?
No, I have not. I have not, but I have played musical chairs before. Blindfolding is the only type of blindfolding that I ever experienced was I'm a Latina, and so whenever we would hit the piñata, sometimes we would get blindfolded if we were old enough. And so that's the only blindfolding that I'm kind of used to when it comes
Well,
to.
at the next event, you can, when you get down to the last two or three in your musical chairs, pull out the surprise, the blindfold.
Yeah, hey,
And
that is a good idea for
bring a little twist to it, assuming that you have the right people up there. I mean, you don't want to do that if you have a bunch of people who are, not likely to welcome that kind of surprise, but you can make it fun there too. You've watched the Ellen Show before, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I used to watch
So,
Ellen all of the time.
so,
She's
so you've seen her program. You can figure out how to do it.
Oh yeah, her Game of Games or something like that. She
Yeah.
had her own little show of just games, and it was a lot of fun. I guess because I'm a kid at heart, and I work with kids and adults as well. I like to definitely find cool ways to keep their attention because little people are kind of hard to keep their attention sometimes. So you got to be creative and kind of think outside of what you would think entertaining, but a little child might. So who in your life inspired you to be in the career field that you're in?
Oh, that's a difficult one to answer. I don't think there was necessarily one person that I can cite, like my whatever was or whatever, and I wanted to become that too. Uh, let's see. First of all, as background information, when I was very young, my parents ran an employment agency with the name People's Placement Bureau. And I loved as a little kid to pick up the phone and answer, even if there was a dial tone on the other end. People's Placement Bureau, if you could picture, a kid that can barely talk because they're very young doing that. That was one of my pleasures in life. Uh, Now, set that aside for a minute. And as a college student, I decided to major in psychology. I had previously tried an engineering major, and for some reason at that point in life, it didn't fit for me. And now my mother, as it turns out, was a school psychologist. So you could say there were certainly some ties there. However, I went into cognitive psychology, experimental psychology, as opposed to being a practitioner. I studied how people think rather than trying to help them overcome problems and so forth. Uh, my goal was to be a university professor. That never happened except for 1 year. When I graduated, there simply weren't jobs available in my field in a place I was willing to live at a salary that I was able to live on. So I decided to move into industry, and to make a very long story short, with that, it was very easy to find an industry job for me. And so I practiced human factors ergonomics in industry, and then I moved into corporate, learning corporate education, etc. Now, one of the things I managed was career services for a Fortune 500 company, IBM. And so does that tie back to that background story I gave you? Certainly,
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
nobody
I
knew
mean,
that.
you mentioned a couple, your mom and, some people. So I think in reality, a lot of people um, have more influence on us than we believe. I think especially when you're choosing what to do, what to be, there's certain people that you look up to that, you see that you see how they're doing life and you think, okay, well, maybe I can do life like that too. It depends. For me personally, it was a lot of people just like you. And I think it's definitely important to have more than one person around you to give you advice, to give you that guidance. And so you were fortunate enough to have, a mom that was, in psychology. I used to be a spiritual life coach and a therapeutic art coach. And so psychology and sociology, kind of are in the mix of that. And just kind of I mean, I took some classes in college too, but psychology is something that I've always been interested in, just because it's a study of the mind. I think when you're teaching little minds, you have to know a little bit, and so I think it's definitely something that I've always wanted to go more in depth, because of the profession that I love, which is teaching. I also am a realtor, and so that's the reason why I don't teach every day. I limit to 2 days a week, and it's not very many hours, but I like to include it just because that's what I love doing. It's one of my passions is to teach, and so that's why I got my certification to teach Spanish, because I love my culture, and so I love sharing my culture. And so, in your life, what you mentioned your mom and her educational background. What about your dad?
My dad was an accountant, and he was a very good father, etc. He died relatively young, and by that I mean I was in graduate school at the time that he died. And he, was just great. Enjoyed being with me when I was young, etc., etc. Doing all sorts of stuff, being at washing the dishes together to you know, showing me how to balance a checkbook. As a matter of fact, I had a summer job at a Boy Scout camp at one point. I was working in the health facility as a health lodge orderly, and I showed this nurse who was my supervisor how to balance her checkbook. She said she never knew how to do it before. And so there I was at, I don't know, 17, 18, 16, something like that, showing somebody how to balance a checkbook. Nowadays, I don't balance mine anymore just because it's a little different process with, everything being online. I do put my annual statements together, et cetera, though. So, that'd be, my ties to my father, and we always took family trips together on Sundays. We'd go for a ride somewhere. Sometimes it was just, to go get lunch or something somewhere and then come back. But after Sunday school, we always went for rides, and that was, like, my favorite part of the week, I think, with my mom, my dad, et cetera. Always used to ride in the front seat of the car between the two of them. I guess today that would be illegal, but, it's that's one of those trade-offs that I think I would not have passed the back seat law, even though I recognize there's risks involved. It's one of those trade-offs. I just said it's worth taking the risk as long as you're dealing with careful drivers and, not in really hazardous places. But my auto safety friends would not be appreciating my comment there.
I mean, yeah, I mean, nowadays it's all about safety. If your car can't, it doesn't have a seat for you or a seat belt for you, they might not suggest that. But
Oh, I predate seatbelts, my friend. As a matter of fact, when we bought cars, my father had to have seatbelts put in for me in the back when I was riding in the back seat because the cars didn't. Well, they didn't come with any seatbelts, and then they came with only front seatbelts, etc. So yeah, you're right. And yes, I did work in auto safety for a while as a human factors professional, working on school bus safety and seatbelt. Actually, did seatbelt research and that kind of thing.
Well, that's awesome. I think it's pretty amazing to, hear, stories all around the world. Since I'm a podcaster, I get to, feature people like you and, so many people that are, doing their best to leave the world a little bit more, better, kinder, and more educated. And so we definitely wanted to feature you because of that. And so my last question is, if life was a lesson, what would you say it's been teaching you using one word?
Well, I thought about this for a while. You did give me a peek at the questions, and I decided to say balance. You want to have a balance between career and family, etc. I happen to own a Facebook group called Academics Say Goodbye. And it is a group mostly of college faculty, some graduate students who are about to get their PhD, who have decided that they simply don't have enough balance in life in the academic job, where they're expected to work all the time. I've also worked for companies where, you're expected to have what's called work-life integration. Work-life balance went out the window. That means, for example, you take your laptop with you when you're going to your kid's baseball game, so when your kid's not batting, you can be working, type of thing. Is that for you? It is for some people. The academic style is certainly for some people, but not for everyone. So my advice to people would be to figure out your work-life balance that's right for you. And that applies not just to work life, but to anything that you're doing. What is the right balance for you? And it's not necessarily the same as the balance for other people.
That's an amazing answer because, that's something that not very many people know how to do. They don't know how to balance their life. They don't know how to balance, how much work to do, how much, family time, something is always lacking. And so I think if you have a good balance, if you know your limits, and if you don't go past your limits, I think you have a happier life because you are organizing your time in the best way that you can. I'm a pretty busy person. I'm sure you are too, just like everyone. And so the best thing that we can definitely do is find that balance within that, work and family time, and, definitely have that time for yourself as well. And so any shout outs or upcoming events that you have that you want to share with our audience?
I don't have public events that are open, and buying a ticket sale. What I can tell you is I'm delighted to bring programs to you no matter where you are. And I mean, I wish we were closer. I would insist on doing a program for your birthday, and it would be a ton of fun for everybody, I'm sure. Now, it's not practical probably to bring a birthday program out to Arkansas just because Southwest isn't free. Let's put it that way. And so I can't necessarily offer that, but on the other hand, if there were an event anywhere, a business meeting, a convention, a school, a university, I'd be delighted to bring my programs out in either career development, leadership development, human factors or economics, or just understanding more about how you think so you can be a little bit safer, more productive, and better communicators. And I can guarantee you the programs will be a ton of fun.
I'm sure they are. I've seen a couple pictures that you did post, and I love games. Family Feud I think is my favorite. So shout out to Steve Harvey. Definitely makes me laugh. And I'm sure people have good time, with your games. And so I think it's a special thing to be able to bring joy into someone's life, and games definitely do that. And so from Learning Idiom, thank you for everything that you do. We definitely do a lot of content virtually. We don't do very many in person. As a nonprofit, we don't. It's usually just virtual. But we also partnered with Authors R Us because it's the first publishing company here in Arkansas that's bilingual. So we publish English and Spanish and bilingual books as well as audiobooks. And so having a little game show is something that would be pretty interesting to see, like the directions of how to do all of that. So I think it's pretty cool to meet how people, you know, just kind of live out their dreams and live the life that they want. And I definitely saw that you were doing that. So I was like, I'm gonna feature him. So thank you so much for your time, and for all of the fun games that you bring to people's lives. And Any last words or quotes that you kind of like mantras that you live by or anything?
I would like to thank you, first of all, for the opportunity. Second of all, for those people that are able to see the video here, I did flash up my comments at the end of all my programs to get a one-word summary. And that's my summary from the 2022 year, which is extremely similar to the ones from 2016 to 2020. As you can see, the main thing people say is my programs are fun. In terms of a quote, develop your people, all else will follow.
Awesome. Well, you're listening to Moving Mountains for You. Again, this is Isla Celadon. I go by Sachi Ice Queen on a lot of social medias, and so definitely get in touch with Ronald. I'll leave his information in the description, and if you are in that area, then definitely reach out to him. I definitely always like to share people's contact information, so I'll leave how you can find him and his socials. So thank you so much for being with us, and take care. God bless, and peace be with you.